Process. We come to the ranking process. Yes. Got him.
Hello everyone and welcome to a very much delayed video. I do apologise, but today I am bringing you another ranking video. Woohoo! Yay! Today I'm going to be ranking all 6 movies in the Middle-Earth Saga, otherwise known as the Lord of the Rings trilogy and the Hobbit trilogy. So I recently re-reviewed the Hobbit trilogy and the Lord of the Rings trilogy, so I have full detailed thoughts on my channel, so I'm not going to give you massive long explanations as to why I put them in the places I do, but I'll give brief digest thoughts as to why I've chosen them for the spots I have. This is obviously a subjective list. This is my own personal opinion, so please respect it. I'm not saying this is the list that you need to do. This is just my own personal thoughts. And if you disagree, that's fine. Just be polite about it. But I want to say this. There are no bad movies in this series, for me. Some people may disagree. I know some people don't like The Hobbit, and that's fine. But I actually do like the Hobbit movies, and I will be including them in the list, and I will be speaking very positively about them, for the most part. But this wasn't too much of a difficult list to do, but I do love this series of films, I really do, and I have a huge sentimental attachment to pretty much all 6 of these movies, on some level, to varying degrees. So, yeah, let's get right to it. So, number 6, now obviously one of these movies does have to take the bottom spot as being the weakest, and for me, that movie has to be The Hobbit, An Unexpected Journey. Now, don't get me wrong, I really do enjoy this movie. It is a great movie, but for me, it is the one that I have revisited the least, purely because it's not much really happens in it. It's quite uneventful, sorry, until it gets going. I mean, the first act of it is quite slow, and I can understand people's criticisms, how they found it very padded out, and I think it is padded out. I think that's definitely the criticism I would lobby at it. Even though I do watch the extended cut, so I guess that makes me kind of a hypocrite, but I do enjoy the added scenes, but I think the theatrical version was too long. Perhaps the theatrical version should have been trimmed down. It does take a while to get out of the Shire this time, considering that The Hobbit was a book that was stretched into 3 long movies. It was always going to feel overstretched, and the first movie is basically the setup. It's basically just the start of the whole quest, so there's not too much going on. But what is going on is, you know, there's quite a few good action sequences. I love the riddle scene. The riddle scene in the dark is amazing. Andy Serkis giving a great, I guess, final performance as Gollum in this movie. Martin Freeman pretty much nails Bilbo. He is great as Bilbo, and I love his interactions with the dwarves, especially in the first few scenes when they come to his house. The dwarves themselves are pretty good. I think Richard Armitage as Thorin is very good, and it's always nice to see Ian McKellen as Gandalf. And its heart is definitely in the right place. It is definitely an epic movie, and Peter Jackson directs it really well. And I love the finale on top of the cliff when Thorin and the dwarves are fighting Azog and the Wargs. I nearly forgot the name there. Howard Shore's music is once again brilliant. It is a nice return to Middle Earth. It really is. After the Lord of the Rings, it was a nice welcome back to Middle Earth. It is a bit overstretched. I do quite like the idea of the White Council. I thought they were good. But for me, it is a little bit slow in places, and it does take its time maybe a bit too much. I don't mind it. I'm kind of used to it by this point, but it is a bit slow, and I think that's kind of my main criticism of the movie. And also, I think Radagast the Brown is sort of unnecessary. He doesn't really do much in the film. So I would have perhaps maybe taken Radagast out. He's just there to basically serve a plot device towards Dol Guldur. And that's kind of it, really. I do like the scene with the trolls, though. That was kind of good. But mainly for me, my main criticisms are the pacing. And I think also the CGI is sort of overused. Like, they use CGI on most of the orcs now as well, which is a shame. And also the character of Azog, he doesn't seem to do very much in this one either. So, yeah. It's my least favourite, but I still like it. And I do like the end credits song, the song on the Lonely Mountain. That's pretty good. But for me, it is just a bit slow. But I still really enjoy it. I could still watch An Unexpected Journey and get a lot out of it. So yeah, I especially like the Goblin action sequence. That is great. So number 5 is actually what everybody would probably pick as their least favourite, would be The Battle of the Five Armies. The Hobbit, The Battle of the Five Armies. Now, I'm one of the few people that defends this movie. Is it perfect? No. Is it a masterpiece? No. But I actually think it's slightly better than An Unexpected Journey. Not by much, but it is slightly better for me. Just because there's more emotion, there's more conflict. I really enjoyed seeing Thorin Oakenshield's descent into madness. You know, he's becoming obsessed with the gold, and the dwarves can see how he's changing, and how almost the gold is cursed, and how he's becoming almost like Smaug, his worst enemy. It's really about about the friendship between Bilbo and Thorin, and how that kind of evolves, and how it all ends. The movie is battle heavy, and obviously, you know, being called Battle of the Five Armies, it is bound to be. I quite enjoy the battle. It isn't the most impressive battle ever. It's the least impressive battle of all the movies. But, you know, for what it is, it's good. It is just very CGI heavy, and I think Peter Jackson clearly ran out of time with the with the production of The Hobbit to make the battle more spectacular. It's good for what it is, but it is mostly action. And the extended edition of the Battle of the Five Armies adds more action. So if you didn't like the battle in the theatrical version, then you probably won't enjoy the extended version. Although I'm actually quite a sucker for the chariot chase. I thought the chariot chase was pretty fun. I'm not saying it does anything for the story, but I do actually kind of enjoy it just for fun. You know, it is fun. But I do appreciate that the movie does have its emotional moments, and Martin Freeman, once again, he just owns it as Bilbo. The opening scene with Smaug, I know a lot of people say that it could have been at the end of the Desolation of Smaug. I can see that, but the climax for the Desolation of Smaug was already quite long. So I'm actually kind of glad they saved it for the beginning of the third, to be honest. It was a good way to open it, and it was a good way to kind of segue from the end of Smaug to Thorin, you know, going to the mountain and you know, being obsessed with the gold. So yeah, I can understand people's point of view from a structure point of view, because, you know, we had the massive climax in Desolation of Smaug, and then he just flies off, and then it's a cliffhanger ending. But for me, I'm okay with it. It's fine. You know, it's fine. It's a good opening, and yeah, it's kind of sad to see Lake Town get destroyed. Howard Shore's music is also very good once again. Luke Evans really comes into his own here as Bard, and it's probably his best performance of the trilogy, simply because he has a lot more to do. I will say that Alfred is overused. I don't understand why Alfred is in this movie so much. He really should have just been killed off with the Master of Lake Town at the beginning. They just seem to use him for comic relief. Like, there's that scene when he's wearing a dress. I mean, okay, it's kind of amusing, but is it really necessary? Perhaps not. The dwarves are all good. I mean, again, there's not much to say about it. It is basically a war movie. I do like the references to Lord of the Rings, like the mithril vest, which Bilbo is given by Thorin. I really appreciated that. And the reference to Aragorn at the end was nice. The romance, once again, just fails to impress me. The Keely and Tauriel romance goes nowhere. Like, the characters barely interact anyway. And then when he dies at the end, it just, there's no impact from it, because we haven't seen them really interact. It's just it's another Romeo and Juliet story where two people from different worlds who can't be in love have this connection, and they fall in love. It's just, you know, it's kind of sappy. I mean, I didn't mind it so much in the Desolation of Smaug on the proviso that it was going to lead somewhere, but it feels like they set it up for nothing. It feels like with the Battle of the Five Armies, they just pushed it to one side, and then it just didn't go anywhere, unfortunately. It's not the actor's fault, it's just the writing, and it just didn't seem to go anywhere. Jackson's direction is good, although, like I said, there are problems with it. It is not a perfect film, and it was never going to be as groundbreaking as The Lord of the Rings, but I still enjoy this movie for what it is. The battle is pretty epic. It is pretty insane, and I like the final fight between Thorin and Azog on the ice. It's a spectacle. It really is a spectacle, but yeah, I can understand how people would be disappointed with it. But I think it has a nice ending as well. It wraps up the trilogy well enough, and it leads nicely into the Fellowship of the Ring, which is nice. But yeah, The Lord of the Rings will always be better than The Hobbit, in my opinion. But the Battle of the Five Armies, I prefer it to An Unexpected Journey. There's more event attached to it, and there is more conflict, and there's just a lot more going on for me, even if most of it is a battle. So anyway, number 4 has to be The Hobbit, The Desolation of Smaug. Wow, The Desolation of Smaug. This is definitely the pinnacle of the trilogy, without question. It's not as good as Lord of the Rings, but that doesn't matter. I really like this movie. It is much more kinetic than the first one. It has the best parts of the book for me. I always prefer that middle section of the book anyway, which this movie is based on. It moves more than an unexpected journey. There's so much more action. There's more story. We finally get to the meat of the story, and it seems like the stakes are raised, and there's just so much going on in this film, which I really like. It's a thrilling film. Like the barrel sequence, the spider scene, the fight with Smaug in his lair, awesome. I mean, the scene with Bilbo and Smaug is amazing. It's one of the best scenes in the book, and it's definitely one of the best scenes in the movies. And I definitely stand by my opinion that the Bilbo and Gollum riddle scene and the Bilbo and Smaug scenes are the two best scenes of the Hobbit trilogy. Definitely. The movie's flaw for me is just the romance doesn't particularly work very well. Like I said, it doesn't lead anywhere in Battle of the Five Armies. And again, the CGI is a little bit over-reliant on. But aside that, it's really good. And I really liked seeing Gandalf's quest in Dol Guldur. I really liked the adventure, and like all the stuff in Lake Town was really interesting. And Stephen Fry is great as the master of Lake Town. And the climax is enthralling when they have to battle Smaug. I mean, Benedict Cumberbatch, whoa, that guy is he's really good as Smaug. He's really good, and that scene is just so captivating, and the voice that he does is incredible. It's not perfect, of course it isn't perfect. I also like Bayon the Bear. He's really cool. The opening flashback scene is really good in Bree. If you watch the extended edition, there's actually a lot more background information. I actually do think the extended cut of Desolation of Smaug is the one extended cut of the Hobbit trilogy that is necessary. It actually adds a lot more into the story. The other two, yeah, they're nice to see, but you don't need them as such. But I think the Desolation of Smaug has the best extended cut, definitely. It's definitely edited much more like a steam train. It goes by a lot more quickly. There's that really emotional scene as well when they go on the doorstep to the mountain, when they finally reach the mountain. There's some great emotional moments. And again, Richard Armitage really is doing well with this part. And that moment when he's starting to lose himself a bit, when he's pointing the sword at Bilbo, and he says, "Did you find the stone?" And Bilbo can see that Thorin is changing, and he is he's not himself anymore, which is interesting. It's a pretty epic movie. The end credits song, "I See Fire," is pretty good. Oh, I forgot to mention the Billy Boyd song for the Battle of the Five Armies is also really good. But it's not as good as the original trilogy, for obvious reasons. So yeah, and also Howard Shore's score. I think this could be his weakest score of the 6 movies, but it's still good. It's good enough. It fits. So yeah, I will definitely I'll say it's worth watching. So number 3, top 3. Number 3 is The Fellowship of the Ring. The Fellowship of the Ring. I mean, wow, this movie is incredible. This is an incredible film. It is an epic experience. There is nothing else like it. It is just so good. The storytelling is amazing. The spectacle is brilliant. The design and everything is superb. The emotion is there. This is a project that has so much passion put into it. And obviously, this is only the first of 3 movies, but this one is just a beautiful film. Peter Jackson directs this movie superbly. Just superbly. I love it so much. The action is incredible. The formation of the Fellowship is amazing. The battle scenes are really epic as well. What more can I say? Howard Shore's music is incredible. It is a very long film, especially with the extended cut. It is very long, but it's worth it for me. It's absolutely worth it. And I love all the characters in the film. Like Frodo's journey, you really feel the struggle that he's going through. The setup does take a bit of time, but it's worth it in the end. If you stick with it, then it is definitely worth it. But it's not my favourite of the trilogy. I just personally think the other 2 take it up one step further. But, you know, for what it is, I mean, this movie has aged better than most movies. I mean, look at the visual effects for like something that came out in 2001, and it still holds up. Saruman, Christopher Lee, is perfect. Again, like the Nazgul, all awesome. I mean, I can't really fault this movie. There is nothing wrong with it. I have no issues with it. Watch my review for extended thoughts, but The Fellowship of the Ring is amazing, and it is forever going to be a masterpiece for me. Number 2 is The Two Towers. The Two Towers, wow. Again, another incredible movie. This movie, the reason why I take it over the first one is I think simply really because of Gollum. Gollum is amazing in The Two Towers. The Two Towers may have... you may have to wait a long time before you get to the action, but I still think that is worth it. The Battle of Helm's Deep is incredible. One of the best battles ever put on film. It is so good. Gollum is just a work of art. He really is. I mean, considering that they weren't even sure that this sort of technology was going to work, they were really just gambling with Gollum. They were taking a massive gamble, and it paid off. And, I mean, they won an Oscar for visual effects, and I'm not surprised. Andy Serkis, to come up with that voice, it's still incredible. I still, to this day, he's mentioned that his cat coughing up a furball was the reason that gave him the voice. But wow, yeah, it is just incredible. Any scene with Gollum, I am there. I also like the introduction of Faramir and how that ties in with Boromir as well. And the extended edition actually really adds a lot to the story as well. I love the stuff with the trees, like all the environmental plots as well. And King Theoden and Rohan, all of that stuff is amazing, especially when Theoden transforms. That is brilliant. Howard Shore's music, once again, superb. The opening scene is just immaculate, with Gandalf falling and battling the Balrog. I mean, oh my god. Oh my god. That is amazing. It's so good. I cannot fault it. I can understand some people rate this as their least favourite of the trilogy simply because you have to wait a long time to get to the action. I mean, okay, fair enough. It is a bit long. I can understand why you would think that, but honestly, it doesn't bother me because I think the characters are interesting. Also, Éowyn, the character of Éowyn is really good. She's my favourite female character in the story, and I'll explain why in Return of the King. But yeah, I like how she manages to turn down Wormtongue as well. Wormtongue is a slime ball. He's a real nasty. He's sort of a nasty character. Although in Return of the King we get a sort of different perspective on him. But it's an incredible film. It's an incredible movie, and the visual effects are amazing. As I said, production design is awesome. Once again, Peter Jackson has knocked it out the park. He really has, and I love Sam's ending by the stone window when he gives that speech. It is just amazing. It's just amazing. So yeah, The Two Towers is my number 2. And of course, not a surprise to anyone who knows me, my number 1 movie in this franchise, and indeed my favourite movie of all time, is The Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King. Return of the King? I mean, fuck, this movie is so good. It is perfect on every level. The battles are incredible. The emotional scale is what impresses me the most about it, how much heart there is, and I actually cried during this movie. I'm not ashamed to say it made me cry, and it is powerful. It is so, so powerful. Frodo and Sam's friendship really just comes to fruition here. Gollum is once again fantastic. Again, the action is so good. I mean, every character has his or her moment to shine. Like I said with Éowyn, when she kills the Witch King, that is a great moment when she says, "I am no man." You just cheer. There are so many moments in Return of the King where you just cheer. You are just so amazed by the whole thing. It is incredibly long. It's one of the longest movies ever made, but it deserves to be so. It deserves to be so. I also love the drama between Denethor and Faramir as well. That's really emotional as well. And Pippin as well really comes of age. It's really his story, because The Two Towers was Merry coming of age. But no, Pippin finally gets his moment to grow up and to shine. And Ian McKellen is great as Gandalf once again. The ending. I mean, yes, the ending is long, but I don't mind it. It needs to be long. There's so much to wrap up. And it is incredibly emotional with the Grey Haven scene as well. And again, it's just so good. And obviously the beautiful end credits song by Annie Lennox, Into the West. You can't ask for more. It is a masterpiece. I mean, Return of the King. It won 11 Oscars, for God's sake. It won 11 Academy Awards. Peter Jackson can rest easy knowing that even if he does nothing else for the rest of his life, he made The Lord of the Rings, and he made it fantastic. And also the editing is amazing, the sound mixing is brilliant. Howard Shore's score is probably his best. Like, it's one of the best movie scores of all time. It's so good. The action, once again, incredible. The orcs never look better. I love Return of the King. I have no issues with this movie. The one nitpick I do have with it is that at the end of the film, they do not cheer for Sam. They only cheer for Frodo. That is it's the tiniest little nitpick, but I'm prepared to forgive the movie for that. I think the Death of Sauron, which is in the extended edition, is also very good, and the Mouth of Sauron scene is also very good. And those scenes are in the extended cut. The extended edition, while adds a lot more to the movie. I mean, the movie was already very long, but I think the extended cut really actually helps this movie. But obviously, for a theatrical audience, they could only sit there for like 3 hours. I mean, the theatrical cut was already 3 hours 20 minutes, so. And the extended cut adds almost an hour back into it. It pushes it to like 4 hours 10 minutes or something like that. It's really long. It is so long, but it's incredibly worth it. You just feel every ounce of emotion from it. It just has so much heart put into it. I mean, these are not easy books to adapt, and they did so well with it. I also love the stuff with Shelob the Spider as well. Everybody gives a great performance, but I think Sean Astin definitely is the standout as Sam. He really knocks it out of the park this time. So, yeah, that's my ranking of the Middle-Earth movies. So, just to recap, number 6 is The Hobbit: An Unexpected Journey. Number 5 is The Hobbit: The Battle of the Five Armies. Number 4 is The Hobbit: The Desolation of Smaug. Number 3, Lord of the Rings: The Fellowship of the Ring. Number 2, The Lord of the Rings: The Two Towers. And number 1 is Lord of the Rings: The Return of the King. So, thank you all very much for watching and listening to this. What's your list? Please comment down below, let me know. And if you want my extended thoughts, please check out my reviews. And please subscribe if you haven't already. And stay tuned for more reviews and rankings. So until next time, I'm Mr. Tarnus11. Thank you very much. See you soon. Bye for now.